This episode is an excerpt from our weekly live stream that we have on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. If you haven't joined us on one of those, we encourage you to do so. But this week, we're diving into the Conshelf program from the 60s and seeing how it relates to what is going on today. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
We've been talking about doing a more themed episode. So I spent some time, and we're going to talk about Cousteau's. Ooh, check this out. We fancy the Conshelf program.
Oh, is this a PowerPoint?
Oh, I got a PowerPoint for this. But no. But we do. And when I was doing research on this, I thought I knew most of the stuff about Conshelf. But there's a couple things I picked up that I didn't know I thought were pretty interesting, which we'll talk about as well as we go through here. But well, as I mess up. Ooh, hey, look at that poking over there. Anyway, so everybody can chime in as if the information that they may have that I haven't found on here, or questions along those lines, and I'll try to answer them best as possible. But we'll see that Cousteau, his whole thing when he started this back in the early 60s, was that he was very much a man ahead of the time, or his visionary, because he saw that there would eventually be almost like two different the ocean. That's nice. You want to take care of that chat there. Anyway, that there was two different. That there would be almost like it was a subset, an undersea settlements. There'd be their own almost culture, and they would declare independence from the land. And he figured this would all happen by the year 2000. Obviously, that did not come to pass, but he foresaw people who would be born, lived, died, everything completely under the water. And that was kind of his whole thing. And that when he started the Conshelf program, it was supposed to be a multi, like 5-station thing that would eventually go deeper and deeper and deeper until it got down to 1,000-foot habitats that people would be staying in. The thing I didn't know is that it was almost purely funded by a French petrochemical industry, because they saw how drilling and mining underwater was a viable future. So they're saying, hey, we'll get behind Cousteau here. We'll help him fund these things, and we'll build these habitats. And so that's how the three different Conshelf programs that came out of it came from it. But what happened was that as he went more and more into it, I think starting with 2, he saw that, hey, the ocean conservation is more where my passion is, and the habitat,
love you,
and colonization and the habitation of the underwater world was no longer his focus. So that's kind of the change that came about, and we'll go into more as we go dive through this, but that's where we're at with all that.
Yeah, and that's just to chime in a little before you keep going. That's one of our, I guess, selling points that we try to get across too, is that, like you were mentioning, that they kind of foresaw, seeing this being a kind of a hub, or like a habitat that can be utilized for like a workstation in a sense too, or having a place to stay while they do work, or be amongst that field of work, and that's something that can continue today, whether it's like a station used for conservation research, whether it's a place to use for mining of sorts, because I mean that's one thing that people talk about, is that there's a continue need for certain mining in the water too. So, whatever it is, I mean, we can help aid that need, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll continue, I guess, then. We'll talk about Conshelf 1 first. It was developed and built in 1962. So what was that? 59 years ago.
Yep.
Crazy. Anyway, it was set at 30 foot, so like 1 atmosphere for 30 days. It wasn't huge or anything. It was a 16-foot long cylinder, 8 foot in diameter. I got some pictures here. Kind of what they were envisioning from, it would look like as far as that goes. There wasn't too many pictures I could find on it. We have to look up it there and then inside of it. So it wasn't spacious by any means. However, it was recognized as the very first underwater habitat. 2 guys stayed there for a whole entire week. Basically, the whole thing was to test and to look at the mental capabilities and psychological and the physical, what would happen with people staying underwater. Because it all went well and there was no problems, it was deemed a success, and they approved a second one. The cool thing about it was that the Calypso, which was Cousteau's main ship, pumped down TV, radio, electricity, water, everything to it. So they had pretty much everything that you would normally need. So it's actually a pretty lush stay for these guys. And so, like I say, it was a really short one. Not much really about that one. Conshelf 2, however, there's a lot more information on, and that's just because one of the things with Conshelf 2 is that they filmed a documentary called The World Without Sun, which is, anybody that's in the diving realm is very familiar with this. So it was filmed, and because of the filming of that, the rise in the ocean conservation and recreational scuba diving was attributed to the film. That being said, it came out in 1963. It was it's 3 parts. So it was, as you can see from the drawing here, there was what they called the starfish home, which is the main habitat. They had a garage where they had this mini sub, and they had a deeper part that went down even further. So the starfish and the garage were both at about 1 atmosphere, around 33 feet. But then the deeper habitat was all the way down at 100 foot. There's a team stayed in it for 30 days, which is at that point in time is a ridiculous amount of time to be staying underwater unless you're in a submarine or something. And 2 of the guys actually went down to the deeper habitat and stayed there for a week down there. You can see there's, before it was put in the water, there's the big yellow round thing at the top left is the submarine garage, and then the other one's the starfish where the people stayed in. Just like the first one that they had all their amenities pumped down to them from 2 different supply ships this time. The crazy thing is that you see guys smoking there underwater. I mean, that's just so crazy, but they're breathing a helium mix to prevent, the nitrogen narcosis and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be on there. It's on our YouTube channel. You can rewatch it all. We'll put this in a podcast as well. So appreciate you, man. So yeah. What else do we got here? Let's first push to go. There's a really cool picture of them outside. Hey, Marty, how's it going? Here's some pictures with break cutaways of actually what it looked like and how spacious they were inside. And I will note back to this later in the episode tonight, but it was cool. You can see there's like a moon pool entrance on there in the far back side that you can come up into. It had bedrooms. Everything was compartmentalized, which, even to this day, you look at Aquarius, it's one big tube. Jules kind of is compartmentalized, but even then still not. So it was really, a cool design even before its time. I think a lot of that was because it was so shallow still. They didn't have to worry that much about the structural capabilities and stuff along those lines of it too. Sorry, I got candy hearts stuck in my throat. Anyway, here's some more pictures from the inside of the how the submarine thing looked, so you could get out of it and actually work on it. There's a deeper part, and there's the actual look of the sub.
So you lay down in that submarine?
Do what?
Go back one picture.
Yeah, you lay down in it.
Oh, weird.
And actually, not completely off subject, but the very first.
Yeah, we just mentioned that, and
yeah, we're just talking about how that was really what made the Conshelf 2 really stand out, and really helped move Cousteau away from the underwater habitats and more towards conservation. So I think filming that video of the documentary. But yeah, the Graham Hawkes, he's got his submarines. Anyway, his first one he laid down in too. So that's a really cool picture. I just threw in there too. And then we get on Conshelf 3. Conshelf 3, right after again in 1963. I'm sorry, no, in 65. It took a couple of years for that one to come around. The submarine. Yeah, I know that was initially his plan was to put one at 1,000 foot, and it never did happen. So that would make sense. I did not know that, but based on those designs, I'm not surprised. Because then with the Conshelf 3, they went even deeper. They went down to 330 feet. But with Conshelf 3, they obviously structural concerns was there, and that's why it's a big giant sphere, because the sphere is the best form to displace that pressure. It was 2 stories tall. They spent 3 weeks down there. They actually because the whole thing was being funded by that petrol company, they put a mock-up oil rig down there and ran tests on how that would play out as well. So they were definitely working towards that goal there. You see a cool cutaway of it with the rig there in the background. How
deep was this one?
330 foot.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a cool little view of it. Anyway, that was all the Conshelfs that ever came around. Even though there's more planned, and they talked about, as I said, there's like 5 different ones, and you can see some pictures out there of some of the stuff they had envisioned coming about. There's basically a bigger saucer or a starfish home with more habitats and garages, and looks like almost like an elevator system to bring people down to it. So they had some pretty audacious goals to go further, but Cousteau's passions changed and it never came around. But it's neat to think about if this was happening 50, 60 years ago, had he continued on with that company, would we have had habitats like this, and where would we be today? It's just really cool. And it was, except aside from Tektite, the Conshelfs and Tektite are my 2 favorite underwater habitats that have been developed out there. I just think they're the coolest looking ones. But yeah. But then I said, what's the future look like? And then Fabien Cousteau showed up last year and started talking about Proteus. And even though this isn't Conshelf, it's still in the same vein, because if you look at Proteus, it takes a lot of the same earmarks from the Conshelf 2, because you've got all those modular bedrooms and stuff on those coming off of it. It's got a garage, which is the moon right there that the submarine can come up in. So basically, he took what his grandfather was working on, polished it up, and replaced it. And so then you look at Proteus here too. If it gets built, it will definitely be in the vein of the whole Conshelf program, and very much of a nod to his grandfather's work there too, which I think is cool. Even though I'm skeptical on the thing getting built, it's cool that he did take, subconsciously or not, earmarks from what Jacques who had been working on too. So yeah, that's I'll have some, we'll throw some links out there, because I'm going to put this in the podcast format so people can go back to and listen as well, and on the YouTube video as well. We'll have a bunch of links in here to the sources where I got a bunch of this information from, and you guys can do your own research or whatever. And also there's a cool video I found while doing this that we'll put it out there as well. So I think that we can, like anything, you look at history of anything, you learn from history, and the same way, looking back at what Cousteau is doing. And one of my things, I think that, the underwater habitats, at least, will definitely be, the growth will come from the business side of things, and won't necessarily be from the personal side of things. The recreational divers and the vacationers and stuff like that will definitely help it. But I think the mass influx of money will probably come from businesses and stuff along those lines. And Cousteau obviously saw that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I think I've only seen pictures of Conshelf 2, so it's kind of cool seeing the pictures of the other ones. And like I said, it would have been cool to see him continue doing that with his life, and but at the same time, I mean, that's where we come in. We're going to continue this, and hopefully his grandson continues it too.
Yeah, it's a big ocean out there.
Big ocean, lots of opportunities, lots of different purposes for what we could do. So,
and that's definitely where everybody comes in. I'm not trying to use this to sell helping us out here, but it is, once again, we are dedicated to this cause, and there's other people out there too. It's not hard to find people that are like-minded on this. It's just finding people that have designs, vision, and a path. And we think we have that. I feel we have that. I mean, I'm putting my money into the fact that we have that. So I'm pretty confident on that. And so that's why if people want to help us out, if they want to come along, there's multiple ways you can do that. There's always, let's see, our website, everything's linked there that you need to know. But there's always Patreon. And speaking of Patreon, we do have 3 Patreon members that we always like to thank.
Hey, we should have had that going throughout the thing. We should have to turn that on. That's my bad. I'm supposed to be the producer. I'm supposed to do this. I'm sorry.
It's fine. But anyway, these guys, early adopters into the vision. We also got Matthew. We probably need to throw him on there. He's been, he's helped us out with some PayPal one-time contributions, which is great too. That's another way to do it. Another way, the merch store. Go buy you some merch. There's a 3 financial ways that you can help Atlantic Sea Colony. Alternately, sharing our stuff, getting the word out there, joining us on our private group to help us get this thing rolling. Those are all ways that everybody can come together, help us out, and make this bad boy.
But until then, thank you guys for joining us, and sayonara.
Bye. Thank you.